The world is filled with mysteries, places where the truth is buried deep, hidden beneath layers of fear and doubt. Each case leaves behind a question, a lingering sense that something isn't right. Is it possible that the most unsettling twists are still to come? That the things we think we know are merely a small piece of a much darker puzzle? Some say that the answers lie just out of reach, that the closer you get, the more twisted the truth becomes. But beware, not all truths are meant to be uncovered. And sometimes the most shocking twist of all is realizing you were part of the story all along. The end, or just the beginning, the line between reality and nightmare begins to blur. What if, in the search for truth, we've been walking into the very thing we fear most? There are stories we've only begun to scratch the surface of. Whispers of unsolved mysteries, of cases that have no clear end. For every answer we find, 1,000 more questions arise. And in the silence, we wonder, how many twists are still hiding in the dark corners of the world? Could the next one be just around the corner? Could you be the next one to uncover a secret so twisted it shatters everything you believe? Some stories never end. They just wait for the right moment, for the right person, to stumble upon them. And when that moment comes, will you be ready? The twists are out there, waiting, and one day, they might find you. 5 cases with the most insane twists you have ever heard documentary. Case 1. The Vanishing Act. It was a typical night. The sky was a heavy shade of gray, clouds rolling in as if hiding something. An ordinary man, sitting in his dimly lit living room, watched his favorite show. Then, the doorbell rang. He opened the door to find nothing. No package, no letter, just an eerie emptiness. Yet there was something strange in the air, a sense of being watched. The next morning, his wife vanished. No signs of a struggle, no indication of where she'd gone. Just gone. Days turned into weeks. Then one night his phone buzzed. A single text from his wife. "I'm okay, but don't look for me." The man froze, paralyzed with fear. Who was really behind this? Case 2. The Haunted Mirror. She bought the mirror at a quaint antique store. The moment she set it in her hallway, strange things began happening. Items moved. Shadows danced when no one was around. One night, she decided to stare into the mirror. The reflection of her hallway was wrong. A figure stood there, staring back at her. But there was no one in the hallway. Panicked, she turned, but when she looked back, the figure was gone. Days later, the reflection began to change again. Now, it wasn't just a figure. It was a face, her own face. But it was smiling. Case 3. The Poisoned Letter. A package arrived at his doorstep, marked with a strange symbol. Inside, a letter written in a thick, dark ink. The words seemed ordinary at first, but then there was a chilling sentence. "You're next." At first, he dismissed it as a prank, but his heart pounded every time he looked at the letter. Then the sickness began. His body trembled, his vision blurred. He couldn't breathe. He ran to the doctor, poisoned. But the most shocking part? The poison came from the letter itself. The ink was laced with it. Case 4. The Twin Swap. 2 sisters, identical in every way, lived their lives like any normal twins. Until one day, one of them disappeared. The family searched everywhere, but she was gone without a trace. Years passed. Then, the missing sister appeared at the front door. Her eyes, her smile, everything was the same, but something was off. She acted strange, distant. Her family, her friends, all of them noticed. And then, one evening, the truth came out. The woman who returned was not the missing twin. She was someone else entirely. The real twin? Still gone? But who was this person wearing her face? Case 5. The Doctor's Secret. Dr. Hartman was a renowned surgeon. His hands steady, his reputation impeccable. But something darker lingered beneath his calm exterior. Patients began disappearing after surgeries, but no one suspected him, until a nurse found something hidden in his office. A journal. Detailed accounts of his surgeries, but with unsettling notes. Made them better. Or did I? The last entry chilled her to the bone. Today, I made them perfect, forever. Dr. Hartman had been performing surgeries that were far from ethical. He wasn't healing his patients. He was transforming them. And that's when the nurse realized the next patient on his list was her. The twists, the turns. These cases will leave you questioning everything. What is real? And what is just the beginning of something far more sinister? The nurse ran, heart pounding in her chest. She could feel his eyes on her, watching from the shadows. She didn't stop to think. She bolted out of the office, into the night. But when she looked back, Dr. Hartman was gone. Gone without a trace. It was as if he had never been there at all. No evidence. No explanation. Just the lingering sense of something terrible that had been left behind. And to this day, no one knows what happened to Dr. Hartman. Some say he vanished into thin air. Others believe he's still out there, watching, waiting, looking for the next person to transform. The end? Or is it? These are the twists that shake us to our core. The moments when reality blurs, and what we think we know disappears. What's out there, hiding in the shadows, and what's waiting for you, just beyond the edge of what you can see. Every shadow holds a secret. Every creak in the floor a hidden truth. The air thickens with tension as the unknown presses closer, like a whisper in the night, soft but insistent. What happens when you realize you're not just a spectator in these twisted stories? What happens when you realize that the final twist might not be about the case at all, but about you? The answers are out there, but some doors, once opened, are impossible to close. And when the truth finally reveals itself, it may not be the one you were expecting, but one far darker, more twisted than you could ever imagine. So ask yourself, are you ready to face it? Or will you too become part of the story, lost in the never-ending twists that keep you guessing until the very end? As the story unfolds, you begin to question everything you've ever known. The world around you starts to feel like a maze, each turn leading you deeper into uncertainty. What if the twists you've heard about aren't just stories, but warnings? Warnings that the line between reality and illusion is thinner than you think. That the truth, no matter how dark, is always just one step away, lurking in the shadows. But the real question is, once you step into that darkness, can you ever return? Each case we've uncovered is more than just a story. It's a glimpse into something much larger. Something that watches, waits, and follows you home. You may think you're safe, but what if the twists aren't over yet? What if the biggest shock is the one you least expect, the one you can't see coming? As you look into the unknown, remember, some truths are meant to stay buried, and some stories never really end. They just wait for the next person to turn the page. Will you be the next to discover what lies beneath the surface? Or will you be another twist in a story with no end? The silence grows louder, as if the world itself is holding its breath. You stand at the edge, eyes fixed on the unknown, wondering just how deep this rabbit hole goes. Each step forward feels heavier, as though the ground beneath you is shifting, morphing into something else entirely. You start to feel the presence of something watching from the darkness, waiting for the moment to strike. You want to turn back. You want to escape. But there's no turning back now. The twists you've uncovered aren't the end. They're only the beginning. And as you walk further into the unknown, you realize the most unsettling twist of all is that you may never truly know the truth. The shadows grow longer, the air thicker, and you're left wondering, was it worth it? Will you survive the next twist? Or will you become part of the story, lost in the web of secrets, never to be heard from again? The twists are never as they seem, and some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved. The air around you feels colder now, as if the very atmosphere has thickened with danger. You take a deep breath, but it doesn't fill your lungs the way it should. It feels suffocating, as though something is pressing down on you from all sides. The walls close in, and with each passing second, you feel the weight of the unknown growing heavier. What if everything you've discovered is just a fragment of something far more sinister? What if the real twist is that you've been a part of it all along? Without even realizing it, you try to shake the feeling, but it lingers, like a shadow that refuses to leave. Every creak, every whisper, seems to hold a meaning you can't quite decipher. It's almost as if the story is writing itself around you, shaping you into a character you never wanted to become. The twists, they don't just change the story. They change you. And as the dark corners of your mind begin to unravel, you wonder, if you could go back, would you? Or have you already crossed a point of no return? The truth is, some twists are too dangerous to unravel. And once you start asking the questions, you may never stop. Are you ready to face the consequences? Or will you be consumed by the story you've awakened? The choice, like the twists themselves, may not be yours to make. As the darkness closes in, you feel the weight of the questions pressing down on you. Each step forward seems to pull you deeper into a web of uncertainty. And the answers? They're more elusive than ever. You've crossed a line. You can feel it in your bones. A line that once seemed so distant, but now it's all too real. The twists, the turns, the mysteries, they've begun to consume you, and there's no escaping it now. You can't help but wonder, what's the real price of knowing too much? You've uncovered the secrets, but now you must face the consequences. Is there anyone who can help you? Or is the story you've become part of too twisted, too dangerous to ever undo? The more you try to step away, the deeper the mystery digs its claws into you. It doesn't let go. It pulls you in further. And in the quiet, you hear the faintest of whispers. Welcome to the next chapter. But you're not sure if it's an invitation or a warning. And as the story continues to unfold, one thing becomes clear. You'll never be the same. Because in the world of twists and secrets, nothing ever stays the same. Not you, not me, not anyone. The game has changed. And now, you're part of it. Are you ready for what comes next? Or will you too become another twist lost in the dark? The world around you feels distorted now, as if reality itself has been bent, warped by the very twists you've uncovered. Every thought, every decision, feels like it's part of something much larger, something beyond your control. The weight of what you've learned clings to you, a burden that grows heavier with each passing second. You can't escape it, and you can't undo it. With each step, the shadows seem to move, shift in ways that aren't possible. You begin to wonder, is this all real? Or is the twist something much darker, more insidious than you've imagined? There's no turning back now. The path ahead is a maze of secrets, and the deeper you go, the more you realize the truth is always more complicated than it seems. And as you walk further, there's a realization, a chilling thought that creeps into your mind. Perhaps this story was never meant to have an ending. Maybe it's a cycle, a never-ending loop of twists and turns, where those who uncover the truth become part of the twisted narrative themselves. And now, you're caught in it. You may never know the full story, never see the last twist. But one thing is certain, you'll never forget it. The twists will follow you, haunt you, until they blur the line between what's real and what's not. And in the end, the greatest twist of all might be that there is no ending, just an endless spiral of uncertainty. So, as the shadows stretch long and the whispers grow louder, ask yourself, can you live with the truth you've uncovered? Or will you become lost in the story? Just another twist in the dark? The choice is yours. But as you stand at the precipice, facing the unknown, you realize that the choice may never have been yours to begin with. The story has already taken on a life of its own. The twists are inevitable, like a storm that can't be stopped, only weathered. You can feel the eyes upon you, watching, waiting, as if someone is deciding your fate in real time. Every move you make, every thought you have, feels like a thread being pulled by unseen hands. And no matter how much you try to fight it, the truth keeps slipping away, dancing just beyond your grasp. What if in the end, you're not the one telling the story? What if all along, you've been the one being told? The twists, they don't care about your control. They don't care about your questions. All they care about is how you react, how you play into the story they've woven. And once you're in, there's no escape. You're part of the narrative now, woven into the very fabric of the unknown. And the most terrifying part? You don't know when the next twist will come. But you know, deep down, it's already on its way. So, as you stand on the edge of reality and illusion, wondering if there's any way out, Ask yourself one last question. Who is the one truly controlling this story? And are you, or have you always been, just another twist in a tale that never ends? The shadows around you grow deeper. As the lines between reality and illusion continue to blur, you can feel the weight of the unknown pressing in, tightening around your chest. Every moment, every breath, feels like it's part of a script you didn't write. The story, this twisted narrative, is no longer something you can observe from a distance. You are in it. You are part of it. But how much longer can you endure? How much longer can you keep playing a role in a story that's so far beyond your control? You begin to wonder, what is the true nature of these twists? Are they tests? Are they traps? Or are they just another form of manipulation designed to make you question everything, to make you question yourself? You try to break free, to reclaim the narrative, but the more you struggle, the tighter the grip becomes. Each time you think you've found an answer, a solution to the puzzle, it slips away, revealing only more confusion, more unanswered questions. And then, in the deepest, darkest corner of your mind, a new thought forms. What if the real twist isn't in the story itself? What if it's in your perception, your understanding of the world around you? What if everything you thought was real was just a lie, a trick to keep you trapped in this never-ending loop? In that moment, you realize the true horror of the twists is not just in their unpredictability, but in how they can warp your very sense of reality. You were never just a bystander. You were always part of the story, woven into its very fabric, unable to escape. And now, as you stand on the edge, the final twist creeps in. It may not be a shock, but the slow realization that there is no end. The story will continue, with or without you, until it consumes everything. Because in this world of twists, the only truth is that there is no truth. Just the ever-spiraling cycle of uncertainty, waiting for the next victim to step into its web. And as the cycle spins on, you begin to understand something chilling. You are not just trapped in the story. You are the story. Every twist, every turn, is a reflection of your own fears, your own doubts, your own unspoken truths. The more you try to escape, the more you realize this maze has no exit. The whispers you hear aren't just in the shadows. They're inside your own mind, echoing with every choice you've ever made. They remind you that the twists aren't random. They're inevitable, born from the very essence of your being. With each passing moment, you wonder how much of this is real, and how much is just a creation of your own spiraling thoughts. But that's the thing, isn't it? In a world of endless twists, what is real becomes irrelevant. Because when you can no longer tell the difference, when you can no longer trust what's around you, you realize you're not just a character in the story. You're the one creating it. And the most terrifying part of all, you can never stop writing. The twists will keep coming, not because they're meant to scare you, but because they are you. You've always been the architect of this dark, twisted world. And as long as you exist, the story will continue, feeding off your doubts, your fears, your every move. You can never escape, because you were never meant to. The end? Or is it just the beginning of a new chapter, one that will never truly close? The walls around you seem to pulse, as if the very space itself is alive. Each breath you take feels heavier, laden with the weight of the truth you can no longer ignore. You are not just a participant in this twisted story. You are its creator, its prisoner, and its victim all at once. The realization creeps in slowly, like the chill of a midnight fog. Every choice you've made, every twist that has taken place, has been part of a much larger design. And now, as you stand at the center of it all, you begin to wonder, is there any way out? But the answer is always the same. No, there is no escape from this story, because the story is you. It's woven into the very fabric of your existence, twisting your mind, shaping your reality, until there is nothing left but the cycle, the endless loop. You begin to question everything you thought you knew, about the world, about yourself, about the nature of the twists. What if they've always been here, waiting for you to notice? What if they've been shaping you from the very beginning, leading you to this moment? The more you struggle, the tighter the grip becomes. The more you try to control the narrative, the more it controls you. And then, in that fleeting moment of clarity, you understand you will never be free. Not from the story, not from the twists, not from the relentless pull of the unknown. The cycle will continue, with or without you. But as long as you're here, it will never end. And maybe, just maybe, that's the most twisted truth of all. There is no end to the story, because the story is you. The weight of that truth settles over you like a heavy fog, the realization sinking in deeper with every passing moment. You thought you were trying to escape, but in truth, you've been walking in circles, chasing your own tail. The twists were never meant to be solved. They were always meant to pull you deeper, to trap you in the endless spiral of uncertainty, until you could no longer distinguish the beginning from the end. You start to feel the ground beneath you shift, warping, becoming something unfamiliar. Every step you take, every breath you take, feels like it's feeding into the story, like you're becoming part of the very fabric of this twisted reality. You wonder, did you ever have a choice? Or was this fate, designed from the very start, pulling you toward this moment of awakening? Every corner you turn, there's another twist waiting, another revelation that brings you closer to the truth. But the truth is the hardest thing to grasp. It slips through your fingers like smoke, and when you think you've finally caught it, it fades away, leaving you with only more questions. And then, in a moment of eerie stillness, it hits you. The twists, the dark shadows, the whispers that have followed you all this time. They were never outside you. They were inside you, a part of you. You've been writing this story all along, feeding it with your doubts, your fears, your desperate need for answers. And now, there's no going back. The cycle has consumed you, and it will continue, unfolding in ways you can't yet comprehend. You can't escape, but neither can you stop. Because in this world of twists, you were never meant to escape. You were always meant to be part of the story, endlessly spinning, never truly free. And so, as the shadows grow darker, and the twists continue to unfold, you can only ask yourself, who are you now? Are you the creator, the victim, or something else entirely? The story is far from over. In fact, it's only just begun. The air thickens, and the realization claws at your mind. You are no longer just a player in this narrative. You are the very story itself. The twists aren't external forces. They're the parts of you you've tried to ignore, the shadows of your own psyche, lurking just beneath the surface. With each new twist, you see fragments of your own fears, your desires, your deepest regrets, unfolding in front of your eyes. It's not just the world around you that's shifting. It's you, morphing, adapting, becoming something unrecognizable. You try to fight it. You try to resist. But the truth is, you've been part of the story all along. And the more you struggle, the more the narrative tightens its grip on you. You thought the twists were a series of shocks, one after another, meant to jar you from your complacency. But now you understand, the twists were meant to break you, to rebuild you, to force you into a new version of yourself. And now, there's no turning back. You've crossed the point of no return, where every choice you make will only deepen the story, drawing you further into the dark. In this world, you are both the protagonist and the villain, the hero and the monster. And as the twists continue to unfold, you realize they are you. Every twist, every turn, every shocking moment is a reflection of your inner chaos, your struggle for control, your desperate desire to understand. But the more you seek answers, the more elusive they become, and the darker the world grows. The more you begin to wonder, who is really in control? As the shadows stretch and the twists grow ever more intense, one thing becomes painfully clear: the story is never going to end. Not until you do. And so, you stand at the center of it all. The story, the twists, and the darkness closing in around you. You've become the very thing you feared most, a part of a never-ending cycle, caught in a twisted tale of your own making. As you stand on the edge of the abyss, with the weight of the twists pressing down on you, you realize that the story is not one of escape, but of acceptance. You've spent so long trying to understand, to break free from the cycle. But the truth is, the story was never meant to be solved. It was meant to change you, to transform you into something new. The twists, the turns, the shocks, they were simply the mirrors reflecting the darker parts of your own soul. For the first time, you stopped struggling. You stopped fighting against the inevitable. Instead, you let go. The darkness that once terrified you is no longer something to fear. It is part of you, woven into the fabric of your being. You embrace the unknown, not with fear, but with understanding. The twists are not there to break you. They are there to mold you, to force you to see the truth. That life is never linear. It is a collection of moments, of twists and turns, of unexpected revelations. And in that moment of clarity, you realize something profound. You've been searching for answers, but in doing so, you've been searching for yourself. The twists were always you. You were the one pulling the strings, the one writing the story, even when you thought you were just a character. Now, as the final twist approaches, you feel a sense of peace, a quiet acceptance. You don't need to know the end. You don't need to escape. You simply need to be, to exist within the story, as both its creator and its creation. And so, the story fades, not with a dramatic conclusion, but with a quiet hum of understanding. The twist will continue. The story will evolve. But now, you are free. Not because you broke the cycle, but because you finally became part of it. And in doing so, you became something more,